Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Grayson, and this is Tech with Me. Have y'all ever heard of the ship of Theseus paradox? I'm sure you have, even if you don't know it by name. Here's the basic outline of it. Say you have a ship, and over the years, you do repairs on it, replacing different planks and different parts on the hull. Maybe you upgrade the mast, or even upgrade the cannons and other parts on it. And then over the years, you've eventually replaced every single part on the ship. Is it still Theseus's original ship? Or is it a different one at this point? And if it's not the same ship, at what point does it change? Some argue that as soon as one part from the original ship has been changed, that's a totally different ship. And then some argue that as long as there's one single remaining part from the original ship, that it's the same. It's an interesting thing to think about, and honestly, I don't even know my opinion on it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Grayson, this is a tech channel. How does this in any way relate to tech? Well, I think it relates a lot. Look, I built my original PC back in 2016 and I loved it. It was originally a used Dell Optiplex that I bought for really cheap, thinking that I'd just toss a GTX 1060 in it and be good to go. Well, it wasn't that simple. It turns out Dell uses a lot of proprietary parts in their builds, and even ignoring that, the power supplies they use in their builds are proprietary as well, meaning they're only really meant to run the parts that come in their computers. This meant I had no extra cabling or even a way to power my brand new GPU. That essentially meant I had to do a whole new build. I had to buy not only a new case and a new power supply, but also a new motherboard. This meant that the only parts from the Dell Optiplex, the original build that I could reuse, was the i7-2700 and the RAM I pulled out of it. In the end, I learned a ton from this, and I loved this PC when I was done with it. It did everything I needed it to do and more. Over the years, of course, I needed to upgrade. My i7-2700 could only do so much and go on for so long, and eventually it died. Now, I wasn't too upset though, because I had been looking for an excuse to upgrade to a Ryzen based system, so off to Best Buy I went. I bought a new motherboard, a Ryzen 5, and 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM, a huge upgrade from the 16 gigs of DDR3 that I had previously. I popped these new parts into my case, popped in my 1066 gig, and once again, I was up and running. But once again, we run into our paradox. Is this the same PC? Or was it a new one? It used the same GPU, the same hard drives, and even the same case. But the motherboard, the processor, and the RAM were all different. A few months later, the Ryzen 7 5800X released and Christmas was coming up. My brother managed to get his hands on one, and it was a great Christmas for me because I pulled out my Ryzen 5 and I replaced it with my Ryzen 7 5800X. But once again, the brand of the computer had changed. Is it still the same build? Or is it different? A little bit of time passed and the 30 series cards released. My little brother decided to upgrade his 1080 Ti to a 3090. He no longer needed the 1080 Ti, of course, so he sold it to me for 200 bucks and I popped it into my build as a quick and easy upgrade. It worked great and I loved it as I had recently upgraded to a 1440p monitor and the 1080 Ti gave me the extra power I needed to really push this resolution. Fast forward a little bit. GPUs were becoming more and more available, the prices were dropping quick, and I decided I needed to take advantage of this. I got an EVGA 3080 12GB FTW card for $800, a steal compared to the pricing of the last few months. In order to power this card, I decided I would need a new power supply. On top of that, I knew 30 series cards could run hot, so I was going to need much better airflow if I were going to keep this card cool. I would need much better case fans and a way better case than the $20 case I was using previously. That wasn't an issue, so I went ahead and I ordered both. Finally, the card, all the new fans, and the case all arrived. I took my motherboard and my power supply out of the old case. I took out my solid state drives and my hard drives and I began to place them in my new case. Finally, I was done. My GPU, my old CPU, my motherboard, and all my other parts had all been removed and rebuilt into my much better Lian Li case. Everything was great and I had a brand new build. Or did I? At which point did my original build become a different one? And when did my new build become new? Some I've asked felt that it was when the case changed, But even then, the parts that actually make up the computer itself had never changed. It's almost the same as if you or I changed our hair. We might look different, but we're still the same person. Maybe it was when the motherboard and processor changed. That might make sense. The processor is the brain of the computer, and the motherboard's the backbone. Surely if we had a different brain, we would be different people, right? But even then, the motherboard and the CPU are only 2 parts out of the 7 that you have to build a computer. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. When does an upgraded computer become a different computer? Is it anytime a part is upgraded or changed out? After making this video and writing it, I feel like it only really becomes a new build when you think of it that way, or if you completely plan it out as a new build from the ground up. I guess a lot of the times I still think of my new build as the same computer because I've only changed it slowly over the years. I never made major or drastic changes all at once. But if I had planned it out from the ground up to be a completely new build with the majority of the new parts changed, I think it might be a little different. I don't know guys, this is just something I've been thinking about, and maybe now you will too. Let me know down below what you guys think about this and how y'all feel about this. Thank you guys very kindly for watching. My name is Grayson, and this has been Tech with me.